Hey guys, today I'm doing a chapter review for your test that's on Friday. So this is chapter 1.6 and 1.7, and we're going to be talking today about the coordinate plane and about scatter plots. That's what your test is over. So let's get started. All right, so you remember the coordinate plane is a combination of the x-axis and the y-axis. Now the x-axis runs horizontally. That's important, so please remember that. Horizontally, and the y-axis runs vertically. There are some important points on the coordinate plane. We know the quadrants are all numbered using Roman numerals. Quadrant 1 is going to be your most frequently used quadrant. We're going to use that one when we do scatter plots in a little bit. Then the other quadrants go around in a counterclockwise circle. And I know you guys already know what's positive and negative in each quadrant because you guys were really good at learning that. So quadrant 1, yep, positive, positive. Quadrant 2, negative, positive. Quadrant 3, negative, negative. And quadrant 4 is positive and negative. Okay, so those are the values of x and y in those quadrants. And let's keep going. So right at the middle, where both axes come together, it's called the origin. And just like every other point on the coordinate plane, the origin is plotted with two numbers in parentheses. And the point for the origin is 0, 0. All right? Let's keep moving. So another thing that I want you to remember, I'm going to erase this now, so if you need to copy notes, pause. Okay, so remember we have two coordinates every time we are plotting a point. It's called an ordered pair. And the x is always the first number in the ordered pair, and the y is always the second number. For the x value, we are going to either move right or left first on that x-axis. And we move right if the x is positive. We move left if the x is negative. For the y value, we're moving up or down. Again, we're going to move up if the y is positive and down if the y is negative. So let's plot a couple points just to practice, okay? Okay, let's plot these. So remember, first we're moving right or left, and then we're moving up or down. And all of my numbers are positive because I'm only plotting in quadrant 1 right now. So I'm going to move right first and up second. Let's plot these points. 3, 5. I'm going to move to the right 3, 1, 2, 3, and up 5. So 3, 5 is right there. The next point, 1, 4. Now I'm only moving to the right 1 and up 4. So move over 1 and up 4. Remember, when you plot a point, you have to label it. Otherwise, it's just a point floating in space. I have no idea what it is. And then the last one is 5, 2. So I'm going to go to the right 5 and up 2. Over 5 and up 2. All right. Let's talk about one more thing with the coordinate plane, and that is domain and range. So for domain and range, I hope you remember that the domain is the x values and the range is the y values. Okay? So let's do an example. Okay, so for the domain, I'm just going to list all the x's together, separated by commas, and using those solution set bars, those little squiggly bars on the ends. So for my domain, I'm looking at x's only. All right, so I'm going to write 2, 4, 1, and 6. And that's my domain, but I'm not done until I put those little bars on. They're called solution set bars. Okay, so my domain is all the x values listed with commas in between. Now my range is going to be all my y values. So now I'm going to look at the y's. These are my y's. I have 3, 7, 8, and 2. And again, I'm going to put those little bars on to show that that is my solution set of y values. Okay? Okay, so the last part of the test is on scatter plots. So I'm just going to quickly review the 3 types of scatter plots. Whoops, sorry about that. That was fun. And then I'll do a little bit more after that, you'll see. Okay, so we have 3 types of scatter plots. And remember, scatter plots are always plotted using quadrant 1 of the coordinate plane. So if you can just imagine, we took quadrant 1 out, and that's what I have drawn here. 3 pictures of quadrant 1. So the first type of scatter plot starts down low and moves up to the right. And that is called a positive relationship. The next scatter plot starts at the top but moves down to the right. So that you can almost see that line moving down. That is a negative relationship. And then the last kind is just all over the place. There is no kind of any kind of pattern that you can find. It's just everything is all over the place, and that is called no relationship. All right, so those are our 3 types of scatter plots. Please study this. You've got to know this for the test. I ask it several different ways, several different times. So positive, negative, and no relationship. So let's talk about an example of a type of scatter plot. What if we were talking about kids studying for a test and it's going to be compared to their score on the test? So let's think about that. If we had a scatter plot and the bottom was time studied and the side of our scatter plot is going to be grade earned, okay? What kind of a relationship would there be between the time somebody spent studying and the grade that they received? Well, what you would expect to happen is that if they studied just a little bit, they would have a low score. If they studied a little bit more, their score would go up. So the longer they study, moving sideways on my graph, the higher their grade is going to go. Okay, so what kind of a relationship is that? The longer they study, the higher the grade. That is, if we compare it to our graphs up above, that is a positive relationship, which is what we would expect. If we spent more time studying, we would get a higher grade. All right, and there's one more thing. We're just going to talk about some types of graphs that have no relationship with each other. So we talked in class about hair color versus height. and how those two things have no relationship with each other. They don't depend on each other. So it would be this graph right here, because you could be short with blonde hair and you could be tall with blonde hair. You could be short with brown hair and you could be tall with brown hair. So no relationship with that. And what about if we were trying to figure out, let's say, an airplane traveling? If we did the hours that it traveled along the bottom versus the distance that it went going up the side, what kind of a relationship would that have? The longer the plane travels, what? The farther it goes. Okay, so that would have a positive relationship. The longer the plane travels, the farther it goes, the more miles it covers. All right, and that's all for the test review. So please email me if you have any questions, and I will see you next time.